All right, greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It is Sunday, March 16th, 2025. And on Sundays, we are tasked with the job of considering the purpose and meaning of life. In thinking about the purpose and meaning of life, there's always a parallel question as what's most important in life? In other words, beyond purpose as such, if I can frame it that way. We often think about the most common responses, such as our health or health and happiness, our relationships, certainly, perhaps our freedom. If you haven't, I recommend seeing the movie number 24. Historical, World War II, powerful. I believe the answer, though, ultimately reduces to the combination of time and energy. Both are necessary or crucial to fulfilling every other need, condition, aspiration, and indeed our life's purpose. So in the absence of time, we do not exist, and we exist in our present form, that is, as living and breathing human lives, entities, for only the most limited amount of time, at least in our current forms. So what we then do with our time, what are we going to do? But by definition, what we do with our time then determines essentially the nature and the type and the quality of the life that we end up leading. So at the same time, we have a finite amount of energy to expend. And that too directly affects what we do with our time. In the absence of energy, we cannot actually do anything. So, if you think about it this way, what's most important in our human lives, or at least the most essential, would seem to be the combination of time and energy. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but rather that we waste a lot of it." Well, that may be true. We all waste a certain amount of time and energy to varying degrees, but I don't think we need to beat ourselves up too much in that regard. The question would be, well, what constitutes too much time wasted or too much energy wasted? I don't have a simple answer to that question, a simple metric, a simple way to evaluate ultimately what's a waste of time and energy. Instead, I'd like to suggest that we could think of it this way. We could think of it as our life's main challenge. To figure out how to effectively harness our energy and put that energy to good use from moment to moment or in concert with the unfolding of time. If we recognize first and foremost the impermanence of life, again, at least in our present form, then that should prompt us to consider more self-consciously and self-reflectively what we think we might like to do with our limited time and energy. And figuring out what to do, we are then doing something even greater, more important. We are fulfilling our life's purpose or our mission in life. Think of it again metaphorically in terms of the river representing time, flowing forever forward and carrying us along at the same time, never to return to the past. Each moment, we are moving forward, buoyed by the current of time. Okay, and as we are carried forward, are we then helplessly moving along, flailing in the water, perhaps falling below and struggling or even drowning, or at least feeling like we're drowning? And if we have no energy, then we really have no choice. Or can we exercise then alternatively agency and swim in the river of life, an active participant and observer? Better yet, we should aspire, I think, to be something akin to a skilled kayaker. We must necessarily go with the flow of the river, and yet we can at every moment use some of our energy to stay afloat. to stay balanced and upright. We may go under from time to time, but we can always right ourselves up. We can work with the current and even enjoy in the fullness of what's around us in nature as we kayak along. Will we get tired? Assuredly we will. And there are going to be moments that we need to rest and recover and relax. Usually, of course, that's during the flattest and the calmest parts of the river. But we know soon enough the currents are going to pick up again, and we might hit some rough patches along the way as we traverse through the rocks and the rapids. Again, if we are skilled kayakers, we'll be able to handle those challenges and even enjoy or even get a thrill at times from some of the more difficult portions of our life's journey down that river. So I suppose that's the crucial point then. We should live our lives with purpose and clarity, directing our energies to keep moving forward with our heads above the water and enjoying our momentary existence as best we can, with all the happiness that we can muster, while at the same time recognizing we're going to have to cope with the trials and tribulations. That's a part of life as well. So it's kind of like what Jewel sang in that song Hands, which I referenced in a previous vlog on kindness. And I'm reminded especially of the first full verse of that particular song. And yes, I'll confess that this is one of my all-time favorite verses or set of lyrics in any song. And her lyrics continue to inspire me now almost 30 years after they were originally put out there in song. Here they are. It's the beginning of her song. She sings, "If I could tell the world just one thing, it would be that we're all okay. And not to worry, because worry is wasteful and useless in times like these. I won't be made useless. I won't be idle with despair. I will gather myself around my faith, for light does the darkness most fear." Love those lines. And that's essentially what we need to do in a nutshell. Gather and focus our energies on what we shall do with these precious moments that we have. Time cares not what we do. It exists, if you will, independently of our human existence, of our self-conscious existence. I mean, yes, we perceive time, and as conscious entities, we believe that to be real because we are in this particular form. But time itself will relentlessly continue to press forward, even if we're not here, or even if we do nothing while we are here. Even worse, we might sometimes find ourselves trying to live our lives backwards in time by clinging to the past and reliving, sometimes over and over and over again, moments of regret or anger or despair. That ends up doing two of the worst things that we can do with our lives. Wasting our time by living in the past rather than living forward, and then simultaneously often draining ourselves of our energy as we strive to cope with perhaps the negative emotions or what have you that the past can evoke. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't ever revisit the past. Of course we should, from time to time. That's absolutely essential. But especially for one of two key reasons, or with one of two key purposes in mind when we do revisit the past. Either to learn from our past experience so that we can live more focused, meaningful, and fulfilling lives, learn from our mistakes and so forth, or in order to draw upon the positive memories and experiences aimed at enhancing our well-being and restoring our sometimes depleted energies. So those would be the two reasons primarily, in my view, why I think we should revisit the past, at least from time to time. if a recollection or a memory evokes a negative emotion, ask yourself then, what can you learn from what happened, or what went awry at that time? And then perhaps even find a way to be thankful and express gratitude for the lesson learned. Of course, if the memories are happy and inspirational, then therein lie the most obvious benefits. Enjoy these, and if possible, build upon them to gain confidence, perspective, optimism. One thing I'll often ask of my university students, especially toward the end of the semester, as the pressures are mounting, all the assignments are due, the exams are upcoming, and so forth. Have you ever felt so overwhelmed, as though there's no way you're going to be able to live up to your obligations? You're never going to be able to make it. Or just think about those darkest of moments that you may have had, those times where we felt the most helpless in our lives. It's tough, right? You recall just how tough it was at that moment. And yet, here's the good news. However dark and however filled with hopelessness and despair you might have been, here you are. Somehow, you managed. You survived. And that alone should always remind you of your inherent strength and resilience. If you're listening or watching this vlog, you are still alive. You are still strong. You are resilient. And you have a purpose. Or, again, as per Jewel's song, you won't be made useless. You won't be idle with despair. But, of course, that necessarily and ultimately must be your decision. To live a life of your choosing, because you have chosen to direct your energies in a specific direction. The more you control that decision to direct your energies in useful and meaningful ways, the more you can be assured that you are not wasting your life. Or, stated positively, my preference, that you are fulfilling your life's purpose. And that's always good enough. And that's today's message. May I ask one more favor, though, of you? Please hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share this message with someone else. If you could even take a moment of your time to recruit one more subscriber, then that would help us to continue to develop the content, to spread the good news, and share these types of life-affirming messages, and hopefully with a broader and broader audience. Thank you so much. And in the meantime, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives and nurture love in your hearts, and find the time to give someone an extra hug today. And we'll see you soon.